Hi, this is Tina from Inner Delight, and welcome back to another We Uplift moment. Joining me again is the beautiful Jerry Sherwood from Your Great Life. And welcome back, Jerry.
Thank you, Tina. It's my pleasure to be here, and looking forward to another opportunity to share with everyone and to just to live this.
Yeah, well, for anyone who's watched the previous calls, the We Uplift moments and the one with the gap exercise, if you haven't, then make sure you go and watch it. I'm still feeling, I was just describing to Jerry in between the recordings, as if I'm in a cloud, like laying in a hammock, but it's kind of in a cloud. So I have this sense of spaciousness. I am fully alert, yet I'm feeling very clear. It's
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to share this with Tom. He'll love seeing and hearing that response as well. He's a great person. Really like Tom.
oh, beautiful. So you have another surprise for us.
Yes, I do. As I said, we all, when you realize this openness, this spaciousness that you are, and you go, oh man, this is great. And sometimes people, and oftentimes people can experience this when they're sitting on the cushion, meditating, when they come out of yoga. A lot of opportunities for people to do this, and they're going, oh man, this is just like wow. And then later they get home and or they go to work, wherever it is they end up, and next thing you know, they're caught up in a whole different world, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And they're left wondering why. There are, in fact, people who have had very deep awakenings, very much, even beyond what we just did. Gone deeper and deeper into it. And then the same thing comes, they later find themselves back, if you will, into life that appears to be totally different and disconnected. They're not. I want to emphasize that. They are not disconnected whatsoever, but because of certain conditioning we've had that began perhaps in other lives, but certainly in utero and as we were born and in our first years in this life, that are very gripping, I will say. In other words, we have, because they were feeling based, and because of the inability of the young children and babes to be able to really process feelings correctly, and because this has been something that's been involved in humanity for a long time, and the interference in terms of our thinking, of how it tries to manage our feelings, it all became very complicated. So that, basically, as Tom has noted in his teachings, one of the dynamics involved in this conditioning is, and one of the primary ones is resisting feeling things fully.
What was that, sorry?
Resisting feeling things fully. We do not allow ourselves to really feel.
Right.
A lot of people are good at emoting, but emotion and feeling are really quite different things. Emotions occur because of our entanglement of thought with emotion, and oftentimes our emotional reactions are efforts to be able to bring the feeling that's coming up down to a level where we can ignore it again. Okay? Well, I was quite good at this, and I could ignore for a long time. Unfortunately, for my marriage, and God bless her that she stayed with me over the years long enough to be able to see some changes, that I would have blowouts because you can't be the peace-loving hippie on the outside 24/7 or however many days and hours you're doing it, and then come in the intimacy of where you have to be, relating on a much deeper level of a one-on-one relationship, and it's not going to hold up because there's going to be where the outlet is, and there's where the irritation is, and there's where it gets expressed, and the blowout continues. But the blowout did nothing to resolve anything; it simply made things worse. And of course, it never got rid of the feelings. It simply pushed them down long enough to be able to do it. And I had a real problem with anger, quite frankly. That was my biggest challenge and my biggest blind spot, because I swore. Like I said, I was a child of the '60s, and I was supposed to be peace-loving. And I'd seen all this and so forth and so on. And I could seem so peaceful to everyone else, but I could be a real creep. Sad that it had to happen that way in some ways, but then again, we each travel our own life path for whatever reason it may be.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the conditioning that can happen because of this failure to feel things fully, emotions and feelings are not processed correctly, they get stored in the body. Then when something comes up that resonates with them, they'll be brought back up to our attention again. Because what's actually the cry out of life to us at this moment is pay attention to this feeling. There was something of value of this when it was stored. You can gain the wisdom from that, and you can also release this energy so that it can go back to where it came from. It's kind of like we've built these little dams and created these eddies in our stream of feelings, and they just can't move.
Mm-hmm.
So the work that some of the work that we do involves helping to move that. One of the techniques that we use in particular is called the core technique, CORE. Of course, it means a couple of things. One is being able to go into the core of the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but even more so, and actually the acronym is for the center of remaining energy. I also like completion of remaining energy. So either way works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the technique is one where you can, if you have an area that's been showing up problematic, or even some sort of a blockage in terms of that you are not, you're not aware of, where you're not resonating with an intention that you know is something you should move towards. Sometimes we can kind of feel blocked or frustrated. Moving into that, resolving that, so that it no longer interferes with where you know you're supposed to be moving towards and what you should be doing. So there's all types of applications for it, but it all amounts to the same. There's two techniques we use actually, the primarily, and there are like 5 others as well, but these are the 2 main ones for helping to clear these obstacles. One's called core, the other one's called C, side entrance expansion. It's a way of being able to access the energy of identifications that keep us from being able to know ourselves as pure awareness as we were able to do in the gap. You can access it through the gap, so to speak, but when you're caught up in identification, for instance, of feeling depressed, or feeling like you're just like you're a loser, or feeling whatever it may be. They generate energy fields that are so big that they literally color our entire world. So side entrance expansion is a technique to be able to extract yourself from that identification and resolve it. Sometimes we do both techniques in combination. Sometimes we don't. Okay? So those are the 2 techniques. I'm not going to demonstrate both unless, of course, the moment calls for that. What we're intending at this moment is to maybe see if we can find something that you would like to work with, Tina, and that perhaps those who are watching this can relate with on some level, if not directly in exactly what it is, but on some level, they can resonate with it and then follow along. And if they aren't going through the process as quickly, for instance, they can always pause, or they can just continue moving through it, or whatever, or they can, a lot of different ways. But I find that when we do the things in group a lot of times, and people observe them, they'll find something that resonates with them, and they'll move through it just as easily and just as quickly. Okay?
Great.
Are you up for that?
Yeah, sure. I think as I was hearing you talk before, one of the things that jumped out at me is being in utero and knowing that we pick up on the emotions of our mother and, of course, the father and everything that's going on at that time. So for myself, I would say I definitely recall the experience of my mother being pregnant with me a few months and having to have an operation. And in that moment, she wasn't sure whether, first of all, I was going to survive, and she really, wanted to have this baby. And secondly, that the moment when she went to the doctor, that she was asked if she was aware that her husband had a history of schizophrenia, and she did not know at the time. So it's like all those influences that came up really brought into being something that at one point I realized, my gosh, talk about not feeling safe coming into this world, and all the emotions that were brought up, so that coupled with being welcome in the world, feeling responsible for a whole lot of things, and that sense of safety. And I think that coupled into, I've worked through a lot of this stuff, seeing how that gets triggered. I see so many people now having their homes foreclosed and having to move. I'm in a rental place, but I'm going to have to move because the place is for sale. And I'm like, ooh, I look forward to seeing where I'm going to go. Yet I still feel a teeny weeny little bit in there, like, ooh, as that core gets shaken, that base
Yeah.
foundation. Yeah, can you do
Okay,
something with that?
that's a good possibility. See, I want to pretty well stay with the protocol that I learned at Great Life Technologies, and that does involve some sort of bit way of being able to ascertain that we're actually dealing with the topic at hand, which is most productive for you in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
and that we're utilizing the right techniques and so forth. I shared with you during the break a little bit that I do muscle testing. And of course, you can do that with people in person with their arm and so forth, but it's also possible to do this remotely. And I find it works very good as long as you can establish a resonance with the individual and their permission to be able to tap into their data bank, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay? And if I have that permission with you, I would like to first calibrate my muscle testing, and then we will proceed that way. Is that okay with you?
Great, yes.
All right. And so anyone else who's out there, the muscle testing, of course, is going to apply to Tina, but on some deep level, you'll know whether or not what we're talking about relates and resonates with you. And if it does, you can move forward with it. And if it doesn't, you can listen, but you can still learn about the technique, and you may learn to apply it in some situation on your own. Or if you want to have more information about it or some more instruction and so forth, then contact me on the Facebook page or through my website, or go to Great Life Technologies and see what they have to offer in terms of some learning as well. Okay, so that being said, we'll start with the muscle testing and the calibrating. Okay, I do a two-handed muscle testing, and I will try to keep it up here during this place at the time, but I might do it down lower out of the camera later. Just whenever I'm testing, I'll generally speaking try to make you aware of what I'm doing, unless of course that would interfere in terms of saying something. In other words, if I'm testing to see if it's optimal for me to speak, well, it'd be kind of silly to go, oh, I'm testing to see if I should say something now. So, that's, I may not use it, I may not tell you things, but otherwise I try to keep you informed as to when I'm actually testing. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So Tina, if you will first, say yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm strong. Okay. Now say no.
No.
And I find it moves through very easily. My muscles aren't strong enough to keep up the same pressure. Okay. Now say my name is Tina.
My name is Tina.
Now say my name is, and pick any other name you want except for your own.
My name is Joe Blogs.
Well, I don't think that's true. I know that, but the muscle testing says it definitely is not true. Okay. All right. There's more testing that would be optimal for Tina on this. No. Okay. So you're in resonance with it. I'm in resonance with it. Sometimes I'll actually go a step further and ask the person to say their middle name without telling me whether it was theirs or not.
Mm.
And amazingly, I've done that maybe about a dozen times and have never been wrong. Now, it's a 50-50 chance, but I'm liking the odds. So I'm really, really up on this. And I know that some people will be a little skeptical. But, if it wasn't working, I wouldn't be doing it because I was real skeptical to begin with. In fact, I almost refused to do this in my first session learning with Tom. But later on, I learned the value of it, and it is a great tool. That being said, let's move on. Okay, so you mentioned that what's coming up for you right now is you're thinking about moving. You're going to be moving, definitely, right?
Yeah, I don't
But
know
you
when.
don't know where. You don't know when. So there's a certain amount of uncertainty. And so I want to check and say, this is the optimal topic for Tina and I to work on at this time. Yes, it is. Okay, so we're on the right topic. And so then I also want to know, it's optimal for me to look to provoke this feeling more in Tina. No. She has she has optimal access to it now. You do. So actually that feeling is already present with you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as we've just been sitting here talking about it, it's feeling up and it's somewhere within your body. So I
Yeah.
want you to, it's optimal to the core. I'm not going to not at this time. Okay. So it's somewhere. So I just want you to close your eyes and bring your attention right to where that feeling is. Can you do that?
Yes.
And where is it in your body?
It's like in my solar plexus area.
The solar plexus area, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's optimal to utilize the C technique. It's optimal to utilize the core technique for resolution. Okay. It is the core technique. Not surprised. But I want you now to notice that energy as it presents itself in your solar plexus. If there's some area of it that seems more intense than any other area. The most intense place, the area that you would probably not go if you had it. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I want you to really bring your attention in very close and really actually enter into the most intense area of that feeling. And you might notice, in fact you probably will notice, there's a bit of a vortex where that energy is actually originating from. Can you see that? Can you notice that?
Yeah, I
If you
feel
don't?
like goosebumps.
Okay, that's fine. Now just let your awareness to be right there in that vortex. This is the space in which you can be fully with this energy and not swept away by it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're not trying to make the energy go away. We're not resisting it. If you find resistance, that's fine. We'll be with that. But mainly, just be with that energy, and we're just going to feel it until there's nothing left to feel. You may actually get a sensation of sliding down or moving through greater depths in this vortex. You may not. Now, for anyone who may be having any trouble in finding the vortex, this is not a problem. Simply allow your attention to be closer and closer in to the most intense place. What can actually occur is your mere attention is that space. And whatever comes, just comes. Breathing through can be very helpful. Feel like you're going to bounce off the walls, just allow yourself to be right there in the space.
It just feels like there's more room.
Yes, exactly. Just there you go. And now that may mean kind of letting your awareness be bigger in that room so that you kind of feel that energy is kind of where it's still inhibiting. Just really let your attention and your awareness do as it will without trying to manipulate. For whoever is working with this, there may be some change. There may not be. It may become more intense. It may become more open. Each time, each way that you do this can be unique. No expectations, no goal, just simply being with and knowing that you can be safely with this energy. So that it can speak its wisdom to you in whatever fashion it may. You may or may not know it, you may or may not hear it, doesn't make any difference. There it is, right. I can
Yeah.
already tell. Yeah, you didn't have to say a word. I both felt it with you and sensed it as it came. It's great. Clear across the ocean.
Oh, what a treat. It's like I could feel
What?
my energy. It's when you mentioned that vortex. It was first very small, but then it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And just
Mm-hmm.
at the end there, I felt as if I was, yeah, almost as if I was somewhere out in space and observing the Earth or something. It's like infinite.
Yeah. You just dropped into pure awareness, which is what the same basic what you experienced in the gap is what you now touched when you went through the energy, because it all arises out of pure awareness and
Mm.
resolves itself back into it. And once it's resolved, you are only there as yourself, purely
Mm.
aware. Okay?
Beautiful.
So it's fully accessible now. So I want to check real quick here. You're going to be moving, right?
Hmm?
Do you know when you're going to be moving? You don't know? You don't know how? You don't know anything about it?
No,
Is that scary?
no, it's like I know that something else will show up, so it'll be all right.
Kind of exciting now, isn't it? Yeah. This is what's called, this is another thing that Tom points to is being able to live in the wonder of uncertainty. Because
Mm.
really, life is uncertain at times, but when you can live in that wonder, when you can live in that open space of what's next, which is
Yeah.
great. So there you are. And you shouldn't, once these things are resolved like this, they don't necessarily pop back up. I haven't seen it, never about the same issue. There can be feelings similar, but they'll be about something else. The deeper you go into certain things, and I have my own ways of looking into what I call genuine intention, getting to the deepest aspect of what our intentions are and what they're about. When you go to those deeper levels and you begin to resolve what's there, you actually can wipe away a whole lot of various issues, not just one in particular. But you can get to the deeper you go, the more you got down to the root, the more you free up, and the more situations that were tied up with that energy are also freed up. So,
Oh, it's wonderful. Thank you so much, Jerry. I think for everyone watching, this is going to be a great opportunity to watch again and again anytime feeling any tension, and to just let that be the topic and to experience a very fast shift in your energy. It's wonderful. What a gift.
you're welcome. And I will say that if someone begins to use this and it doesn't seem to have, it isn't very acceptable, it's possible it could be a C technique candidate, or you sometimes can go through this and after it's resolved, you'll find some other energy hanging around that you become identified with. Kind of the key to think about this is if it seems to be um, more within the body, more centralized there, it's probably going to be a core technique. Not always just that, but that's usually often the case.
Mm-hmm.
If it feels like it's an energy which kind of surrounds you, like you're kind of caught in this, like the whole world is all of a sudden an angry place, or the whole, everything you look at makes you angry, or everything you do makes you, it seems to be frustrating. Those are usually going to be about unmet expectations or other things that we're identified with. And things that, once it becomes that, then it's a matter of extracting yourself from that energy. And you do this simply by allowing your awareness to expand bigger and bigger and bigger until you've actually sensed the outside edges of that energy. You feel pure awareness. You pay more attention to that. You be who you are. If there's any stories connected with the event, or the energy, I should say, and supporting it, take a look at those stories and see how silly they are, and you'll find this energy will resolve back in. That's a very crash course on that. All of these techniques are obviously can become better at, and know how to work with them more. Where training can be very helpful, but not absolutely essential. Tom does have a book out called The Power of How, which has all these techniques in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I would recommend that. He also has another one which is called Vaporize Your Anxiety, and you can check that one out as well. So
Wonderful.
to
Well,
me, but Tom makes a difference.
Yeah, well, I hope for people who are watching this, you have this experience for yourself and you'd like to take that to the next level, to contact Jerry. So go visit his website at discoveryourgreatlife.com and share on Facebook, the facebook.com/yourgreatlife. And I hope that you're going to be presenting information for us soon on webinars that you'll be offering, so people have an opportunity to experience this in group setting as well. That would be wonderful.
I'm going to be having one coming up within 30 days or less. If you're on Facebook, you'll know about it quickest. Twitter, I'll announce it on there as well, and of course at my website. Or anybody who would like to sign up for my mailing list and so forth. I'm in the midst right now of changing my emails, automated. People who take care of all that stuff. So if you go to it and you're not getting signed up right now, by tomorrow that's going to be changed, because I'm working on it today to make the full changeover and make sure all my links are changed. Okay?
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jerry. I have to, when I find the words, I will express them on your page. I'm just feeling like, big hug.
That's the word.
Big hug from here to you.
Love you, man. You're great.
Many joyful blessings, and until the next time.
Be well, be peace, be free.
Thank you.